just getting warmed up, just getting started already.
He is just getting started with a brand new book. It comes out today. It is called Let Me Finish. Trump, the Kushners, Bannon, New Jersey, and the power of in-your-face politics. Chris Christie, the former governor of the state of New Jersey, joins us live.
It sounds just like me when you do
No, it doesn't. There's no one who sounds exactly like you when you yell.
The book is terrific, and we're going to talk all about it in the next segment. If you got a question for the governor, go ahead, email us at friendsoffoxnews.com. But because you are, much like Nancy Pelosi, a master legislator, let's try to figure out where we go from here regarding this 3-week, respite from the government shutdown. Chuck Schumer essentially says the president needs to stay out of the negotiations. Listen to this soundbite.
In the past, when the president has stayed out of it, when the president has given Congress room, we've been repeatedly able to forge bipartisan agreements. When the president injects maximalist, partisan demands into the process, negotiations tend to fall apart. The president should allow the conference committee to proceed with good faith negotiations.
Okay, how good faith are they, Governor?
Well, they haven't been good faith so far. And the fact is, the idea that the president shouldn't be involved is a recipe for failure. Because in the end, they need his signature. Now, I used to say when I was governor in Trenton, there were 3 numbers that mattered, 41, 21, and 1. That was a majority in the lower house, a majority in the upper house, and then the governor's signature. Sure. I said I always loved being the 1. Because that's the easiest one. Yeah, that's the easiest one to control because it's your decision. They have to involve the president. And the president is ready to be involved. I'm confident the president's ready to be involved. What he's not ready to do is to capitulate. And I think, that's what they're looking for, and they're looking to try to roll him. And I think he learned a lot from the last 35 days, and I think he's going to be much more ready to get in there and deal with what you have to deal with when you're dealing with a legislature of the other party.
What people want to say is, oh, he's tough, he lofty kid. It's reality. It's the reality of what leverage you have going in, and if someone's not going to negotiate and engage, and they can run out the clock, and you took responsibility for the shutdown, you're going to lose temporarily, perhaps. But he also said behind closed doors, he blames Paul Ryan. Because Paul Ryan gave him a budget in this fall that only had $1.6 billion for the wall. Does he know what he ran on? He said the word was screwed.
Well, listen, I think that one of the things that the president sees now is that this process is one where you don't always, as the president or as a governor, have all the leverage that you want. And, people complain all the time that he's stubborn and he never is willing to change his mind. Well, he did change his mind when he saw the suffering that was going on by some of the workers who had missed 2 paychecks. When he saw what was happening at the airports, he said, I still want the wall more than anything, but I cannot do this to these folks anymore, so I'm going to change my tactic and give them 3 weeks to negotiate in good faith. That shows somebody who knows how to change their mind to adjust to the circumstances.
And when parents were separated from their children, he put them back together. The DACA children, he listened to the Democrats on that and tried to say, all right, recipients can stay in the country.
That's right.
Now they're mad at him because now he's not letting the parents stay. Well,
and listen, they're always going to move the goalposts on him. But the important thing is that, the mainstream media treats him like a cartoon character. They really do. And part of, what people need to understand when they look at all those examples is this is a guy who listens. He does listen. Now, he's strong and he's tough, but he listens. And he made some changes. And now I think this 3 weeks are going to be very interesting because if they try to exclude him, they're setting everybody up for failure and leaving him with no alternative but to take executive action himself.
Which he has threatened.
Yesterday, Matt Whitaker, the acting attorney general, came out and said in his first press conference that he believes Mueller is coming towards close to being completed of his investigation. From what you know about investigations and Robert Mueller, what do you think?
Well, listen, Matt would know better than anybody since Matt's supervising it. But I can just tell you that, the thing about this Mueller investigation is there have been no leaking, and you just don't know what they're up to. And I used to say when I was U.S. attorney that the best thing about being U.S. attorney was only I knew what I knew. And Bob Mueller is certainly following that mantra. So Matt probably knows more than anybody else in the country other than Bob Mueller about it. So I'm going to take Matt's word for it. But Bob Mueller doesn't feel to me like he's almost done. But I don't think he's ending on Roger Stone, but it might be.
We haven't seen Mueller tip his hand, but you have seen his indictments. And so far, you look at Roger Stone on Friday, you've got 5 counts of lying to Congress, you've got obstruction, you've got maybe witness tampering. There's no collusion.
No.
And that was the whole premise.
Of course. But as I said, on this show, way back when I was governor and they first appointed Mueller, that the problem with the special counsel is that they feel like if they're not bringing charges, they're not doing anything. Like a regular prosecutor knows, if I don't do this case, I do the next case and can walk away from a case. A special counsel, if they don't do something on this, they're eliminated.
Right.
I believe
and that's one of the problems.
You said, too, when it comes to collusion, you said they couldn't even get, you kind of taking a dig at Trump, they couldn't even get a ground game going in Pennsylvania. Well, how were they going to get something colluding with the Russians?
Well, I mean, listen, it was one of the beauties of that campaign and one of its shortcomings was that it was by the seat of the pants. And you didn't have a lot of people until Kellyanne got there who really had done something nationally before. And so in August, they still didn't have field ops in Pennsylvania. You're telling me the folks who didn't have field ops in Pennsylvania were running some kind of Tom Clancy collusion scheme out of Trump Tower. I just don't buy it. I never have bought it.
And in your book, you talk about how, you're on the verge of Pennsylvania. Jared Kushner calls you up and says, hey, how many people do we need there? And it's like, this is politics 101.
Well, I was like,
and that guy's running the show.
Well, I was like, well, we don't have them yet. I mean, it's like late August. Like, we got 60 days till the election. Like, we got to get going.
What about
here.
2020? All these Democrats are putting their names in the hat now. They're very, very, very far left, socialist.
Yep.
They're furious with Howard Schultz for putting his name in the hat, and he's the senator.
God bless Howard Schultz. Run, Howard, run. Run, Howard, run. I mean, literally, you look at this group. Let's face it. Here's the thing: you can't look at that group and pick out who the winner's going to be. You just can't. And I remember being with our group in 2016.
Would you have 16?
We had 17, right? We had 17 people. And at this time 3 years ago, right, people were saying Jeb Bush was the front runner, right? So nobody can really tell what's going to happen when these guys, I always say all the time, with presidential campaigns, when the lights go on, they're so bright, you either shine or you melt. And we're going to see a whole bunch of these people who think they're going to be president melt really quickly.
I remember the morning of the New Hampshire primary. You joined us at our first ever diner location, the Airport Diner in Manchester. It was you, Donald Trump, and Jeb Bush all together.
Yep.
That was pretty much the starting gate.
Yep.
And things didn't work out for you.
Nope.
The president wound up winning New Hampshire.
Yep.
In your book, though, you make it pretty clear that you were, if not the choice, the number 2 choice to be vice president. But the one person between you and that job was probably Jared Kushner.
Well, that's the way it sounds, and that's certainly what I was told at the time. And the president and I have a 17-year friendship, and I think that's what a lot of people don't understand. This is not, I didn't endorse Donald Trump, 3 weeks after I dropped out of the race. Because, well, I liked him. I endorsed him because we had a long-term friendship, and I knew that if I helped him, that I could help him be a good candidate, a better candidate, and hopefully president.
And you helped him. 0 governors had endorsed him. 0 senators you write about in your book had endorsed him, and you did. And even some people on your staff were not supportive of you endorsing him. But he is your friend for 17 years. Would you go up against him in 2020?
No.
You wouldn't.
No. And
you did say never say never in a recent
I said never say never to run into president someday.
Okay.
Right.
And that's, no, listen, I'm not challenging the president in 2020. I'm a friend of the president. I'm a supporter of the president.
Right.
And I fully expect the president is going to be our nominee. And with Howard Schultz in the race, he will have an absolutely smashing victory over whoever the Democrat is. So no. What I answered a question in California a week ago where they said, will you ever run for president again? I said, well, ever is a long time. Right. So you never say never. I'm only 56 years old, but no. Right. Some people misinterpret that one. 2020 is the president's game to play.
Right. And would you run if Steve runs, or you?
Yes, I would run. No, I would run against Steve.
It's a Jersey thing.
A Jersey thing.
What
it's
about
like
the friendship?
Look, it's like the semifinals. You got to see who the Jersey king is, and then you move from there.
That'll be easy.
Speaking of the Jersey thing, and you talk a little bit about that because the feeling was because you were running the transition, it was you and 2 other guys from Jersey, and somehow it got into the president's head, probably from his son-in-law, that it was a Jersey thing. But there were 140 other people.
There were 140 people, and there were 3 guys from Jersey.
Right.
And by the way, the 3 guys from Jersey, none of them were getting paid.
Right.
Which is unusual for Jersey guys. We took no pay for
Everybody
that.
is volunteer. Regarding Jared Kushner, though, the reason he did not want you in the administration, didn't even want you got fired by Steve Bannon for the transition after you've done all that work for like 6 or 7 months.
How you kept your cool, I don't understand.
Yeah, no kidding. But you say...
I love the president. That's how I kept my cool.
You do tell the story about the reason Jared Kushner didn't want you, and you guys came to blows in a room with Donald Trump, is he was still angry that you put his dad away for 24 months. But you detail in the book what his dad allegedly did, and it was not good stuff.
Listen, it's not allegedly, Steve, because he admitted it. He pled guilty. I mean, this is not a case where someone says, well, it was a run-amok jury and I wasn't really guilty. He pled guilty to 18 counts.
Right.
And so, you know, I was doing my job. And that's exactly what... And I have to tell you how much I admired the president that day. Because it was just me, the president, and Corey Lewandowski in that room. And Jared was making his case about why I was untrustworthy because of what I had done to his father. And you know what the president said? He said he was doing his job. He said, Jared, how can you criticize Chris for doing his job? He was the prosecutor. He had this evidence. You would have done the same thing if you were in his position.
And he went on to say, too, if, you know, your dad did some really bad things, and it was his brother that brought the case to you.
Yep.
You didn't even know about this whole thing. They had videotapes. You pick up a cell phone. I could have prosecuted this case.
Yes, you could have.
Right? I mean, because I watched Paper Chase in 1978. So this is not your fault, and it's amazing that he never let it go. No. And in the end, I think it's hard not to conclude he hurt the president's first 2 years.
Well, listen, getting rid of the transition, and it was not only Jared, to be fair, Steve Bannon, Rick Dearborn.
Steve Bannon fired you.
Right, Steve, he was the one who pulled the trigger. And but worse than firing me was they threw out the work of 140 people for 6 months. And if you look back on some of the reporting back then, they said people were reporting that our transition was way ahead of Hillary Clinton's and much better.
They could have avoided a lot of the problems that they had in the first 6 months had they followed your plan.
Let me finish, and it is pretty much the perfect word, the perfect title for a guy that was really made his name as a YouTube open forum governor, where you took all questions and you let people go at you, and the harder the question, the more aggressive, the better you did.
Yep, and I enjoyed it, and New Jersey's that kind of place. You know?
When was the first press conference when it all started? Was it when you said, you better get the heck off the beach?
No, you know, when it really started was when I called one of those reporters the most thin-skinned guy in America.
Yeah, that's
and that became crazy on YouTube, and after that, it rolled, and my staff did an amazing job of keeping stuff out there. And we were really the first governor to use YouTube in a really aggressive way. It's hard to remember when we didn't have it, but back in 2010, not a lot of people were using it.
Your book is great. I love the story of the election. You are with the president, soon-to-be President Donald Trump. Stephen Miller had crafted a great concession speech, but said, you know what? We don't have a victory speech. And then you sat down to try to figure it out.
And we all sat together. It was me and the vice president-elect and Stephen Miller and Jared and Ivanka.
But what does that say? There was no victory speech.
Well, I mean, it tells you what the mindset was. Listen, when I got to Trump Tower that night, the exit polls were already out. And you all remember the exit polls were awful.
Bad.
Really bad. And you can't help but be affected by that. And I think everybody was. But that's why you got to actually count the votes.
Governor, we have some questions from viewers. We asked them to send them in. So Jason writes, if you were president and had the shutdown looming, would you call state of emergency for the wall?
No, I think the president made the right decision not to do it and to try to work it the other way, because we don't know how the courts will rule on a state of emergency ultimately. And then also the president's trying to keep a good relationship with Congress. He doesn't want to take that power away from Congress. And I think the president made the right decision. What people don't understand about this president is he does know how to negotiate. He knows how to build relationships, and he's trying to do that. But if people on the other side don't want to build a relationship with you, it's impossible to do it.
There's a couple of things. You already covered. The next question you covered from Frank, and how the media covered the president. They cover him like a cartoon. Real quick about you, an individual. First, you thought you were going to be vice president. And then you said, the only other job I'm interested in is attorney general. Then, so pretty much you get knocked out and get fired, and you didn't like the fact that the president never admitted you didn't get fired. But then you come out, then they come out and say, we need to see you. We got something you might be interested in, RNC chairman. You were interested in that.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they go, you're not going to be the RNC chairman. You want to be secretary. And Reince Priebus starts rattling off all these other things. You're like, listen, calm down. No, no, and no.
And listen, what people need to understand, and what comes through, I think, really clear in this book, is that I love the president. He's my friend. And when I saw that stuff going on there at the end, I asked to see the president and elect, and I said, listen, I came to say goodbye. There's some people around here who don't want me around you, and I don't want to make this hard for you. You got the hardest job in the world. Don't worry about making me happy. Don't worry about it. I'm a big boy, and I'll be here to help you anytime you need help, like I was with the Opioid Commission or anything else that he needs me to do, because I believe he's good for the country, and I want to try to help him. You asked, how do I keep my cool?
Yeah.
I kept my cool because I love the president, and that's the most important thing.
And he's going to love this book. I think listen, this is the inside story that he couldn't possibly know from your perspective.
And I think people, when you read it, you understand that I have great admiration and respect for the president's leadership ability and what a good campaigner he was. If you didn't run against him yourself, you can't understand
it's very
it's a
detailed.
Force of nature.
Lots of conversations you had with the president, including what you felt about Michael Flynn. You talk about growing up in high school playing baseball, and then your senior year, another kid from private school who's a little bit better comes in and takes your spot, and how that affected you. It's a great book. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on. It's always great to be with you guys.
And I got you for an hour on radio.
Looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Just get off the beach. That's all. All right, Governor, thank you.
Get the hell off the beach. Come on, Steve.
Hey,
don't
Get the hell off the
sanitize
beach.
it.
Come on.
There you are yelling at me again.
That's exactly right. Well, you're a Jersey constituent.
I am indeed. All right, Governor, thank you.